now, another racial issue. This is coming out of Texas. It's about this lawmaker, Republican, of course, and she is a North Texas legislator, and they're having an issue about, hey, what kind of names can we, her name is Betty Brown, by the way, what kind of names are going to go on the ballots, how hard is it, etc. And she says, finally, look, these Chinese names, we can't all speak Chinese. It's too hard to deal with this thing. Why don't you guys change your names to like regular names, American names? And then it'll be, quote, easier to deal with. So Joe points out in his vituperative email, he's like, by the way, the Chinese names are like the easiest names in the world. They're not like American names that sometimes go on and on, right? Like Wurzelbacher, for example, the real name of Joe the Plumber. He's like, they're like Li, Yang, Wu. Okay, how complicated is it? Besides which, they're Americans. They're just Chinese Americans. Of course they're going to keep their names. In fact, a lot of Chinese change their first names, which I'm not sure that I like that much, you know. As you can tell, I'm in the entertainment business, and I kept the name Cenk Uygur. One could question. But anyway, all right, so let me bring it to the TYT Supreme Court. J.R. Jackson, is Betty Brown being unacceptably racist? Or, she's a little old lady from North Texas, and she doesn't know any better. Let her go.
I think that was the question I wanted to come up with. It's obvious it's stupid. And then again, so it's the question that I wanted to bring to us was, do you think she has malicious ideas? Because that was her defense. She's like, I'm not going to apologize. I'm just saying I think it's hard. I don't have anything against Chinese people. So that's the question. Do we think?
That's the thing, you know, and that's a great question because racism isn't always, oh man, I hate black people or I hate Chinese people. I want to put them down and I want to make sure that everybody understands they're inferior and they don't eat with us or whatever. Most times these days, it's a lot more subtle. And it doesn't mean that it's not racist. It's just an implicit feeling and then sometimes verbalized in this case where they say, well, they're different than us, and why don't they be like us? You see what I'm saying? Like, black people are obviously different, you know, and then they will run down the number of stereotypes, 80% of which are, terrible, 20% of which are not so bad, you know? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, or they'll say, I had a neighbor who, he totally pronounces all of his words, and he speaks like an American. So then they know a black guy, and then they say, oh, well, yeah, it's fine. I know black guys who speak normal. Why can't you all do it? When really, what's speaking black,
Yeah, I know. And by the way, in North Texas, they all speak normal, right? How y'all doing? Okay, I'm just playing. It's not that bad. All right, anyway. So, in her mind, and in a lot of people's minds, they think, well, that's not racism. I don't intend anything bad. I just think that their names are messed up. They should change them to make it more like regular names. And racism doesn't necessarily mean that you're malicious or that you're some sort of terrible person. What other people are doing is they're trying to get you to realize, hey, you know what? That might be hurtful if you tell a Chinese person that he's not like a regular American and that he has to change his name to become like a regular American. That, in fact, of course, this country was set up so that Chinese, blacks, whites, etc., everybody in all the different religions are just as equal. And it's hard for them, for that thought to penetrate their mind because they're used to the status quo, they're used to things as they are. And so if America could be majority Muslim and it would still be the same country. Now, if you tell somebody in North Texas that, they'd be like, oh, hell no, that's not America. Again, I'm just kidding, North Texas. I know there's a lot of good, smart, progressive, centrist, moderate, etc. people in Texas. So, JR, my answer would be, no, she's not malicious. Yes, the statement is racist anyway. And no, I don't want to, tar and feather her. I want to just explain it to her so she can go, oh, yeah, you're right. My bad. I should have realized that. Now, she hasn't gotten to that point yet as far as I saw in the article, but does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's what I'm going with. She doesn't realize it. She's not malicious, so she doesn't look at an Asian person and go, ugh. But she maybe if she listens, because it also goes back to what we talked about during the election. She's probably closing her ears now because she's getting called racist, closing her ears up and saying, no, I'm not. And then so she's not listening to anyone else saying, well, listen, we'll just have a conversation with me then. Maybe you can understand how this sounds, and maybe you shouldn't think like that anymore.
Right. And what I think I agree completely with what you're saying, JR. And then finally, racism doesn't need to blow your head up. Okay? It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And maybe that's the problem with the word, of course, right? That it's become so toxic that everybody runs from the building. And we've had these discussions before. We want to say to her, hey, look, that we don't think you're a bad person, but understand why this is an issue. Understand why this statement you made and the thought behind it is not the right way to go. So, Jesus Godoy, are we too magnanimous? It's just that's exactly right.
That is exactly right. But I mean, just the thought of this lady and the position she's in, it's kind of disappointing that she could be so ignorant, though, too.
Yeah, I know. But, we change minds one day at a time.
But, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, one mind at a time. We're coming. And we're not coming in a malicious way. Betty?